Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. All right, Perek Yud Bet, Mishna Yevamot. This entire time we've been mentioning the word chalitza, o choletz, o meyabem, chalitza. And finally, after 11 full chapters, we're going to talk about what chalitza is and how it's done. Sometimes it would have been better probably just to say it at the beginning. But often the Mishnah does that. And this is the laws of chalitza, rather easier perek than what we've been used to so far. In essence, there are three parts to the chalitza. Number one is the yevamah. The girl removes the shoe from the yavam. Number two, she spits in front of him. And number three, she says certain pesukim from the Torah described in the parasha of Yibum. So we'll see later on in the Mishnah how the order is done, but just a few technical laws. Mitzvat chalitza bishlosha dayanin. The mitzvah of chalitza is done in front of three judges. Vafilu shloshtan hedyotot. These don't need to be the greatest Talmidei Chachamim of the generation. They can be three laymen, kind of like we do here for, Hatarat Nedarim. Hey, you guys, the three guys sitting there. You can do that. Even if they're not expert in the laws, it's fine. Chalitza b'min'al, if she performed chalitza with a shoe made of leather, chalitzata keshera, the chalitza is kosher. Ben pilin, but if she performed it with a shoe made out of cloth, chalitzata pesula, then the chalitza is invalid because a cloth shoe is not considered a real shoe in the in technical terms. It doesn't protect the foot well, so therefore it is not kosher. Besandal sheyesh lo akev, if she performed chalitza with a sandal, is not a sandal. It is a very, very hard leather shoe, but has a heel that wraps around the back of the foot. Kasher, it is valid. B'she'en lo akev, but if this sandal does not have a heel, that heel structure, then pasul, the chalitza is invalid because the shoe will probably slip off the person who's wearing it, and it must be an actual shoe. Min ha'arkuba ulmata, if the shoe that is being used for chalitza is below the knee of the yavam, chalitzata keshera, the chalitza is kosher. Ve'im ha'arkuba ulmala, min ha'arkuba ulmala, but if it's tied above the knee, so it's like one of those tall boots, shoes that has a wrap, whatever, then chalitzata pesula, it is invalid because the shoe has to be removed from the area just above the foot, and this is above the knee. Mishnah Bet, chalitza besandal she'eno shelo. If the yevamah performed chalitza with a shoe made a sandal, but it's not his, it doesn't belong to the guy, it just happens to be wearing it. Or besandal shel etz, or a wooden sandal covered with leather. Or b'shel semol bayamin, or with a left shoe placed on the right foot. We're going to see that it has to be the right foot, but he's got a left shoe that is on his right foot. Chalitzata keshera. In all these situations, the chalitza is kosher. Chalitza begadol shehu yachol lehalech bo. If she performed chalitza with a large shoe that was bigger than his foot, but he could still walk with it, meaning the shoe is not slipping off, or bekatan shu chofet rov godlo, or a small shoe that is just covering most of his foot, chalitzata keshera, the chalitza is valid because if the shoe is usable, then it's valid. Chalitza balayla, if she performed chalitza at night, chalitzata keshera, the chalitza is valid. But Rabbi Eliezer posel, but Rabbi Eliezer says it's not kosher. Basemol, if she performed the chalitza with a shoe on the left foot, chalitzata pesulam, the chalitza is not good, it's invalid. The Torah says that the shoe must be on the yavam's foot, so it's always the right foot when we do mitzvot. Rabbi Eliezer machshir, but Rabbi Eliezer says it is valid because it just says foot, not specific, it could be any foot. Okay, so remember the three parts. Removing the shoe, we have spitting, and reciting the pesukim. Chalza v'rakeka, if she removed the shoe and spit, aval lo kara, but she didn't read the pesukim. Chalitzata keshera. The chalitza is valid because the recital of the Pesukim is not essential. Kara'a verakeka. If she said the verses and spit, aval lo chalitza, but did not remove the shoe, chalitzata pesula. The chalitza is invalid because removing the shoe is essential. Chalitza vekar'a. She removed the shoe and said the Pesukim. Aval lo rakeka, but did not spit. Machloket. Rabbi Eliezer omer chalitzata pesula. Rabbi Eliezer says it's not good because according to him, spitting is essential. It's an essential act, and therefore the chalitza is not good. Rabbi Akiva omer chalitzata keshera. Rabbi Akiva argues and says spitting is not an action that involves the yavam, as we're going to see. It has to, the essential actions have to be for the yavam, and therefore he holds if she didn't spit, it's still kasher. Amar Rabbi Eliezer says to Rabbi Akiva, Kacha ye'aseh. The pasuk in the Torah says, this is how it shall be done. And if the Torah says that she has to spit, then she has to spit. And if she didn't spit, it must not be valid. So that's what he said to Rabbi Akiva. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva told Rabbi Eliezer, Misham raya. You think that's a proof? Kach ye'aseh la'ish. It's this shall be mad to the man. The yavam. Kol davar shu ma'aseh ba'ish. Implying anything that's an action involving the man, the man's body. So removing the shoe is on the man's body, that's essential. But spitting is coming from the girl, and therefore that is not essential, and therefore the chalitza is still kosher. Hacheresh shenechlatz. If chalitza was performed on a deaf-mute yavam, ve'acheresh shechalza, or a deaf-mute yevama performed the chalitza, ve'acholetzet lakatan, or a yevama performed chalitza on a minor, chalitzata pesula, the chalitza is invalid. The Torah requires that the yavam and the yevama have the ability to speak for the chalitza to be valid, and it must be an adult with physical signs of maturity. Ketana shechalza, if the yevama was an underage girl when she performed chalitza, tachlot mishetagdil, she has to do it again when she gets older. Ve'im lo chalza, chalitzata pesula, and if she doesn't do it again when she gets older, then it is invalid. Now, we learned in the first Mishnah that it has to be done in front of three judges. Chalitza bishnayim, if she performed chalitza in front of two judges, or bishlosha benimsa echad mehem karov o pasul, or three judges, but one of them was a relative or was pasul edu, so he's not really qualified to be a judge. Chalitzata pesula, the chalitza is invalid according to Tanakama. You need three good judges. Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yochanan Sandelal Machshirin. Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yochanan Sandelal, they said it is fine because the judges is not essential for the act of the chalitza. It's the other parts that are essential. So you have two judges, it's fine. Not only that, there was once a guy who, or a girl who performed chalitza between her and the man in jail without any judges present. And Rabbi Akiva permitted this chalitza. Last Mishnah, and we'll conclude. Last Mishnah of the parak as well. Mitzvat chalitza, this is how it's performed. Bahu v'yevimto lebet din. He and her come to court. Vehen masi'in lo etza ha'ogenet lo. And the judges give him advice as to how to proceed, whether or not they feel he should marry her and perform yibum, or chalitza should take place. Usually, if for example they have a large age gap, she's 12 and he's 45. Okay, maybe it's better that you guys perform chalitza. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, v'kareu lo ziknei ayro v'diberu elav. The pasuk says the elders of the city shall call him and speak to him, meaning give him advice. Now, if the Yavam decides to go ahead with the chalitza, meaning he doesn't want to be with this girl, he omeret, the Yavama then says the following pasuk: Me'en Yevami la'akim le'achiv shem be'Yisrael lo avaya b'mi. My Yavam refuses to establish a name for his brother, the brother that died in Israel, and he's not willing to take me into Yibum. Vehu omer, and then the Yavam says, Lo chafatzti lekachta. I do not want to marry her. Ubirshon HaKodesh hayu omrim. They have to say these passages in Hebrew, the Holy Tongue. This is also brought down in Masechet Sotah. We learned it in our Sunday morning, or not long ago. Then, V'nigesha yevimto elav. The Mishnah is just quoting the psukim, but this is what actually happens. Then the Yevama approaches him, le'enei zekanim, in front of other zekanim. V'chalza na'alo me'araglo. She removes the shoe from upon him. V'yareka befanav, and then spits in front of him. Rok hanir'eh ladayanim. This spit must be enough spittle to be visible to the judges. Ve'anita ve'amra, and then she declares and says, Kacha yaseh la'ish asher lo yivneh et bet achiv. So is what's done to a man who will not build the house of his brother. Ad kan, she also says that in Hebrew. Ad kan hayu makrim. Originally, this is where they would read up to until this point, even though the parasha goes further, but it was until this point that they read. Uksheikra Rabbi Urkanus tachat ha'ela b'kfar Eitam, but when Rav Hurkanus dictated the passage under the elm tree in Eitam, the village of Eitam, and completed the entire chapter, meaning Bet Chalutz HaNa'al, which is that last pasuk, Chuzeku liyot gomrim kol parasha. It just became established from that point on that they finished the entire parasha of the Yavam. Finally, the conclusion of the ceremony, V'nikra shemo beYisrael bet chalutz hanal. His name shall be called in Israel bet chalutz hanal, the house of one whose shoe was removed. Mitzvah b'dayanim v'lo b'mitzvah b'talmidim. This is only said by the judges or the rabbis who are there, and not the students who may be sitting in front watching this situation. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. And he says, Mitzvah al kol ha'omdim sham lomar. It's a mitzvah for everybody who's there to say, Chalutz hanal, Chalutz hanal, Chalutz hanal. The one whose shoe was removed, the one whose shoe was removed, the one whose shoe was removed. We'll continue Be'ezrat Hashem tomorrow.